Welcome to the Jobs and Work podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kendra Jason. I'm a sociologist and workplace equity consultant, and I will bring guests onto the show who reflect the diversity of the American workforce. On this podcast, I challenge you to think about work. Why? Because in America, we spend more time at our jobs than anywhere else. But how often do we really talk about work? And I mean all types of work: women's work, essential work, retirement, being your own boss, how to handle your boss, and so much more. Please subscribe and share the Jobs and Work with Work for Change podcast. You can learn more about my consultancy that supports this podcast at work4changellc.com. Hello, and welcome to episode 45 of the Jobs and Work with Work for Change podcast. Today, I have a very, very special small business owner. I have with me Crystal Miller. Welcome to the podcast, Crystal.
Thank you, Kendra. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, I'm going to read Crystal's bio so we all know who she is, and then we're going to get into it. All right. Crystal Miller is an associate minister at Tabernacle Baptist Church in Augusta, Georgia. She is currently a seminary student obtaining her Master of Theological Studies from Wesley Theological Seminary. Minister Miller is a speaker and author. She obtained her master and bachelor's degree in kinesiology with over 20 years experience in organizational leadership. Minister Miller travels all over the country preaching and teaching the word of God. So her passion is helping people really discover their purpose. Her first album, Be Still, was released in 2014, and she has blessed so many people through worship and devotional prayers. She is the author of 5 books: Ready for Change, The Centered Woman, Today I'm Better, Work, Wait, Win, and her latest book, Picture Your Life. So she's also a professional photographer by trade and the founder and CEO of She Blossoms, Inc., which is a nonprofit organization that's designed to help women and teens determine their gifts and talents. Not only all that, but Crystal is a member of the illustrious Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So y'all know Crystal is my sorority sister. Thank you again so much, Crystal, for being with me today. So Crystal and I actually had it scheduled to have her taping about 2 weeks ago, and then I got sick, and thankfully she was patient, and we were able to do this again. So I really want to jump. So let me just tell everyone who's listening and watching, Crystal and I have known each other for a long time. We are childhood friends. I think I met Crystal when I was about 12 years old at a summer program. You homies when you go back to the summer programs.
I forgot about that.
Yep. NYSP, National Youth Sports Program at Payne College.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's when we first met, and then we reconnected in high school and just kind of stayed connected through social media once social media popped off in our adult lives. But I always tell people I really appreciate social media because it has allowed me to keep up with people who are really dear to my heart, like Crystal, who I would have normally lost touch with, because Crystal is in Augusta, Georgia with her businesses, and I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, as you all know. A great part about social media is that I've been watching Crystal for a number of years, and if my memory recalls correctly, when you first kind of popped up on my radar, you were really heavy into working out, personal fitness, personal wellness. You were doing spots on the local news, and I was really excited for you. And then I saw you transition, at least on social media, because a lot of things go on in people's lives outside of social media. Then I saw you transition into ministry work, and you put some video clips and pictures of your ministry work, and I was really proud of you then. And then I saw you doing retail photography, and retail photography turned into weddings, turned into individual photography, turned into branding photography. Then I saw you release your books and your She Blossoms, which I know you were at Augusta College with the women at She Blossoms there as well. So it's just been awesome watching from afar. I know it's like seeing your life put together, probably the last 10 years of your life put together, in about a year or so. And so the reason why I reached out to Crystal specifically is because Crystal is actually my, I would say, personal photographer. I always go to her with my branding photography and my family photography. My branding photography for my business. And I use that photography across all of my marketing and social media. And it just, when I use Crystal's pictures, my likes and analytics for social media just explodes. People love, how you capture. And so I really wanted to talk to you today about, those transitions that you've experienced. And I would say, a relatively short part of time. And you know what, honestly, I don't even think I can call it transitions, because you're still in ministry work while you're doing photography. You're still in your nonprofit while you're writing your book. So, I'm just going to open it up there and just, can you tell us about that journey from ministry work into all the things that you do as well?
Wow. Some of those things, I forgot about my album. It's funny because I never planned to be all over the place like that. I feel like I've just really been all over the place. And it's not something that I take pride in at all. I grew up in the church, but around my college years, I really began to get serious about God, more serious in my relationship with God. And around 2012, I really felt a tug to preach. I really felt that tug to preach. So I got licensed in 2013. And whenever I focus on something, I focus on it. I believe in the saying, go hard or go home. So whenever I do something, I'm serious about it. So in that period of my life, around 2012, I really started to be focused on God using me to share his word. And so that was my biggest focus. I started going to seminary. I'm still in seminary. But I was serious about it. And in that time, a part the worship album that I produced was just an extension of my ministry, because I'm a worship leader. That's just, God has given me a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of gifts, but I try to use the gifts that God has given me. And around 2017, I don't know if you're familiar with the Enneagram test, but it's kind of like a personality test.
Okay.
And when I took it, I scored really high in the creative. And that's when it really became clear to me, this is why I do this is why I do that. And the person that administrated the test told, and I'll send it to you, I'll email it to you. He said, because at that time I was working at MCG, I still call it MCG. And I was struggling with working that 9 to 5 versus the tug. I just felt a tug to do more than that.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with 9 to 5, believe me. I'm not ever saying that. But my 9 to 5 at the hospital, it just didn't fit what I felt the tug to do in ministry work. So when he told me, you scored very high in this creative, which means things have to be meaningful to you. Everything you do has to be meaningful, or you get bored, or you feel like you are not fulfilling your purpose. And that just, a light bulb just went off. And I started She Blossoms. The reason I started She Blossoms was because all of the things that I wanted to do in ministry, there was no avenue for me to do it. And so I said, I'm going to create my own avenue to do it. And so that was one period of time. And just to make a long story short, when the pandemic hit, it just it was like everything came to a halt.
Yep.
So when the pandemic hit in March 2020, my calendar was full of preaching engagements. I had preaching engagements, lined up. Right. And like I said, that was my focus. I was doing She Blossoms at Augusta University. We had events planned for the women on campus. And as you know, everything stopped. So I was like, okay, now what do I do? What do I do? And I was working with hospice at the time. That was my job, that I got a paycheck from. And we had to quarantine at home for, I don't know if you remember, but April and May of 2020, they said, just go home, go home. And so we worked from home. But while I was at home, I felt that I lost my identity. I didn't know who I was because I had wrapped my identity up in preaching, and preaching stopped. Like the churches closed down. All of the women's conferences that I used to speak at stopped. They still stopped. They still haven't. And so I was just at home like, who am I? Like, who am I? And so I remember one day I was at home just watching like Good Morning America and reading articles, and I kept seeing things that said, while you're on quarantine or while you are at home isolated, try to find a new skill like gardening or knitting or whatever. And so it just really popped in my mind to buy a camera. I had never ever in my life thought about being a photographer, ever.
That's amazing, because your work is so good.
Never, ever. And so I bought a camera in April 2020, and I just started doing research on photography and learning how to use my camera, practicing just on my kids. And again, I believe go hard or go home. So I said, I don't want to have a hobby. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. If I'm going to take pictures, if I'm going to be a photographer, I'm going to be the best that I can be.
Right.
And just cut me off anytime if you
need to cut me off. This is good. Believe me, this is good. Keep going.
So when it comes to business, as you know, so many careers and industries are heavily saturated.
Oh, yeah.
And photography is one of those. Yes. That it is so saturated. And in the beginning, I was not afraid of that. Because although there are several photographers in Augusta, there are several photographers in Atlanta and Charlotte and wherever, I believed early on that your eye, everybody has their own eye. And your eye in photography and in anything is based on your experience.
Yeah.
It's based on the photography of a woman is going to be different from the photography of a man. The photography of someone who has children is going to be different from somebody who doesn't have children. The photography, the art for someone who is African American will be different from someone who is not. So in the beginning, I knew. And this is part of just my relationship with God, in the fact that I believe that what God has for you is for you.
Yeah.
I was not intimidated by the fact that there are already people who've been doing photography for 5, 10, 20 years. So just like I said, cut me off if you have any questions.
No,
I can go on and on.
No, I was thinking, I was starting to get mesmerized. I was thinking just that moment, I was like, I could see why you had so many engagements for speaking. You're such a great speaker, and you tie your stories in so well. I don't think enough people talk about how so many of us not just struggle through COVID-19. I mean, everybody struggled through COVID-19, even if it was a struggle to sit down and be home, but the struggle of actually losing your identity, right? Because, I always preface that when I tell my own story, I question, who am I? Like, what am I doing here? Am I really walking in my purpose? I didn't feel that this story is a little different for you. I didn't feel like I lost my identity. I was really trying to dig deeper into who I was, right? And I always kind of thought about it that way from my perspective, right? But I think it's really worth a long conversation for so many people to really think about how they actually lost their identity, right? Or got thrust into a whole different identity. Some people had to take on caregiving roles that they never had in COVID-19, for example. And so I just wanted to kind of highlight that because I think that's something that I'll return to in a future podcast or conversation. I think another really great thing that you said, and I hope is really encouraging for people, and you said at least at first, that when you started your photography, like brand new, little experience, that you yeah, I'm saying, because there were people out there with so much more experience and with beautiful websites and all of those things, and that can be so intimidating. And I'll tell you that so many people are intimidated or hesitant about starting not just their own job, but a different venture, a different direction in their life, because they're just like, that's not my lane. That's somebody else has done so well in that lane. I need to stick with where I am. And I like how you said, you said at least at first, that's how you thought about it, because we go through different, what's the right word? Perceptions of ourselves, even as our business grows. So sometimes you can start from a place of insecurity and grow into confidence. Sometimes you can grow into confidence and then merge into insecurity. But I think the actuality is, it's both the whole way. It's a spectrum of all those things going on the whole way when you're doing something that you, especially as you said, you haven't been necessarily trained for, you don't have a particular credential for, at least at the time, and you're getting yourself out there. And I just really commend the work that you're doing. Let me ask you about your books, because you've written 5 books. And so what type of outlet are the books for you, and what message are you giving your readers through your authorship?
Well, most of my books are devotionals. The reason that I love devotionals, one reason is because I believe that the way that you start your day is so important. So my latest book, Picture Your Life, it's a 40, instead of calling it a 40-day devotion, I put on the cover a 40 morning devotional, because it's specifically aimed at the time in the morning. And I'm a morning person. I've just always, my spiritual growth really began in the morning, in morning prayer. That is how one of my spiritual fathers back at Georgia Southern 20 years ago, we used to have morning prayer. We would meet at the church. Now something in my eye. Excuse me. We would meet at the church on every morning at 6 a.m. and we would pray. And that is a time when God speaks to me and gives me direction for my day. And so the books that I've written, most of them are like devotionals, and I feel that organizes the info. They're not like, they don't read like novels. So usually there's like a day or there's a section that is organized to help you to center on different concepts, and usually I have a scripture tied to each one. But just to speak to what you were saying about, I don't know how people can have businesses that don't have a relationship with God, because when you talked about the insecurity, if I didn't have faith, I would have given up so many times, because there are so many times I question, am I really supposed to be doing this? And when you talked about the lanes, my confidence comes from knowing that this is what God has called me to do. But I had to get to that point, because one day the phone may be ringing off the hook, people trying to book me, And then 1 week it might be quiet.
Yeah.
And it might be, and in those moments, you have to be confident that this is what God called you to do. And I know everybody may not look at business in that spiritual way, but when you mention lanes, how do you know if it's your lane or not? Like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
So I think my faith has been everything to me. And in terms of the pandemic, I feel sad that so many people passed away. But there are other things that died in the pandemic. You know, a lot of people's dreams died. A lot of people's hope died. And I experienced that. I experienced, you know, will I ever preach again? I went through those moments. And God had to show me that there was something new that he was doing in my life that I never even saw coming. And he showed me that I'm able to touch people's lives in other ways other than standing in the pulpit, or in other ways other than standing behind a microphone or standing on a stage. One of the things that I loved when I first started doing photography, when I used to speak a lot, I would always have to worry about having my makeup on. I would get clothes custom made. I would get dresses custom made. You know, always having to have my hair done. But it was so refreshing when I started doing photography because it didn't matter what I looked like.
Yeah, you behind the camera.
I'm behind the camera. And it is still refreshing to me to make someone else look good. And not just to make someone else look good, but to show them that they look at you, you know, look how beautiful you are. And that, for me, I love it. I love doing photography because for so many years, I was creating a platform for myself.
And
it was like I was grooming myself and training myself and constantly preparing. And now I'm putting myself in the background and I'm lifting other people up. And I love to do that. I love when somebody comes in with low self-esteem and they look at themselves and they say, that's me. And so I thank God because he knew I didn't know. I would have never done photography. If it wasn't for the pandemic, I would have never done it.
You're it's so much you said there. You know, I think too, again, that so often when we talk about the consequences of COVID-19, you know, we talk about income loss. So even when you were saying, you know, the conferences stopped, the conferences still haven't picked up like they used to. I mean, literally those type of things they're tied to your purpose, of course, but they're also tied to your income and your daily experiences. And so again, I think it's just really important, you know, to bring to the table how, you know, people were disconnected from their purpose. You know, I love the way you framed, you know, people, a lot of things died in COVID-19, like hopes and dreams and plans. You know, sometimes things just didn't get postponed. You know, they got indefinitely put off. And, you know, that's really consequential for people every day. And that's why I think I really love, like, you know, like I said, to me, it's obvious how your ministry is the fabric of everything that you do. Like one thing that you just mentioned, like, so I did a family photography session with Crystal, and my daughter was there. She was 12 or 13 at the time. And Crystal was doing outside photography, and Crystal was like, I really want to capture golden hour, right? My daughter picked up on this phrase, golden hour. And Crystal, when I say almost every day that we're outside during that time, she mentions like, oh, this is golden hour, even today. And the reason why I bring that up is because for me, when I think about it, it is present in your pictures, but it just feels like that is a moment when God is speaking to us in that golden hour. It looks different, it's gold, it's radiating, it's soft, it's encompassing of all things. And so when she says, oh, it's golden hour, I have this little mental thing that triggers like God crystals pictures, like literally. It's so funny, that and so that's what I said when you were saying that who we are shapes the eye that we have, right? As a sociologist, I always say that's your perspective, but I think what you're saying is so much different. I mean, it's in the same language, so much different. It shapes how we see things. It shapes how we create. It shapes how people interact with us, right? And so again, of course, I want everybody to look below. If you're on YouTube, Crystal's handles for her photography is below. Crystal, what's your website for your photography website?
The website is thephotographyofcrystal.com.
Good, right? So the reason why I have to do that now,
and Kendra's pictures are all over it.
is because so we started out as a video podcast on YouTube, but more recently we have expanded to audio streaming devices. So I was like, oh, I have to like tell people, not just show people things. But one thing I'll just say or ask you is, you've had a very like adventurous journey. I know the way that you think about it is like, oh man, you in the beginning you said, I kind of don't like how I've done so many things, but to me a really big word is alignment. That's where I'm trying to get with my business and my life. Everything aligns. And actually the branches of the things you do, from She Blossoms to your devotionals to your ministry to photography and everything in between, actually from the outside to me are much more in alignment than I think you may even experience. So anyway, I say all that to say or ask you, for people who are struggling right now with going in a different direction, or not sure or insecure about doing something different because it doesn't feel like it's like it's taking them out of their 9 to 5, or it's taking them out of their regular routine. What advice would you have for someone to move forward?
Well, number one, I know this might sound like a cliche, but I'm so serious. The first thing that you have to do is pray.
Yeah.
Because you have to get confirmation from God to know the direction. Because even now, there are times, even this morning in prayer, I was like, God, I don't even know what to pray for today. I don't even know, because I still struggle. I'm a full-time entrepreneur right now. I'm a full-time entrepreneur. Like, I don't have a job or anything. And I struggle sometimes with, should I go back to work? And it's so hard, because when I work, like when I have a 9 to 5 job, I like I said, I try to do the best that I can do with my job. Yeah. And I don't want to split my attention. But when you have your own business, that business is your baby. Yeah. And it takes, if you want to excel in it, it takes focus, it takes research. Yeah. You can't say, okay, I got clients now, I'm good. Every day, my husband is like, why are you always on the phone? I'm researching. I'm trying to find the best light, the best cameras, the best lens, the best everything. Yeah. And so I have to still pray and ask God to give me direction. Right. So the reason I'm saying that is because those of you who are listening, you don't want to waste your time doing something that you should not be doing. Yeah. And sometimes we see people doing things and it looks glamorous, but it may not be for you, right, to do. And and the flip side of that, if it is your time, God will show you, God will give you confirmation. It will be so clear. I promise you, if you ask God to make it clear, he'll make it so clear that you'll know, okay, it's time. Yeah. I promise you. Yeah. He will make it clear. So that's the first step, is prayer. once you get the okay from God, once you get the release to do it, just know that no one else can do it like you. No one else can do it like you, because no one else has the experience you have. No one else can bring to the table what you have, and all of the things that you have gone through in your life. Everything up until this moment is for your purpose.
Yeah.
There are people that you can help that I can't help. You know? And then just being secure in, first of all, knowing that this is your time, this is your season, and it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And just because you have challenges, this is one thing I struggle with. Just because you have challenges doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be doing it.
Right.
The challenges are a part of the journey. The trials, and even in your personal life, because there have been times that I've had high moments in my career, and then I would come home and have issues in my family or my personal life. And it can make you say, am I, I'm mental tonight. But the trials and tribulations that you go through carry you to your destiny. They carry you to your purpose. You're not going, if you look at anyone who's successful, I guarantee you, if you knew the trials that they have been through, you would not believe. Anybody that you admire, and they may not post it on Facebook, they may not post it on Instagram. I think about people like Oprah and Tyler Perry and LeBron, whoever, anybody who's successful, they're only going to post the highlights. They're not going to share when they were screaming with their spouse right before the interview, when they were screaming with their kids. So just know that if you, and I know it may sound like a cliche, but if you just keep at it. There was a little book, and this is the last thing I'll say. There was a book, a children's book that I used to read to my son from Finding Nemo, and it was called Just Keep Swimming. Just keep swimming. And when I used to read that to him, it used to speak to me. And I really believe that, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep digging, just keep working. And one day, sometimes when I post things on social media, I may post a picture and get 300 likes or whatever. And then I may post something and get 1 like. And it may be a picture that I thought was just phenomenal. Right?
Always.
But there have been times when that has happened, when I post that 1 like picture, and someone will contact me on my website. They didn't even like it. People have contacted me that I don't even, because I feel like a lot of my business comes from social media, but I have people contacting me that we're not friends on Facebook. They don't follow me on Instagram. You never know who may see that. Like someone may be scrolling and have my picture on their phone, and their coworker might see it and say, oh, let me go reach out to her. You never know. One of my clients, she referred me to someone in California that works in Hollywood. And the lady came here to visit her mom, and she wanted me to do her picture. She doesn't even live, she lives in Hollywood. And she works with like actors there. So she had never seen my work. Someone else here referred. So my point is, if you just keep being consistent, your gift will make room for you. And you will be found working in your purpose. You will be found already working in your purpose.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Crystal, for your time. That was a beautiful message. I got a lot from that. So what I would like everyone to do, please look Crystal Miller up. Think about your photography needs, your devotional. You know, she does it all, right? Jack of all trades, right? And so please continue to support Work for Change. That is the workplace equity consultancy that supports this podcast. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Linktree, all the places. So please like, subscribe, and share so we can work to make the world of work better. Have a great day, everyone.